Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Is it really true that Joanna Jedrzejczyk has been kicked out of the UFC? Well, in this video, we're digging in deep to figure out how much truth holds in these rumors that have been flying around. Has Joanna Jedrzejczyk really been kicked out of the UFC? So here's what we do know about the whole situation. Recently, UFC removed Jedrzejczyk from the UFC rankings as she has been inactive for quite a long time. The 34-year-old champion had claimed second place for the strawweight rankings and also for the official pound-for-pound rankings. However, Jedrzejczyk last competed way back in March of 2020, which was rather a memorable performance as she faced off with Weili. It's been 19 months since that match, and due to this inactivity, UFC took Jedrzejczyk off the ranking list. Jedrzejczyk was challenged to a fight, but apparently she turned down the opponent. She said that the UFC reached out to her, saying that if she pulls out of the fight, they'll have to remove her from the rankings as she's been active too long. While Jedrzejczyk didn't reveal who she turned down, she did reveal that UFC extended her contract as per standard practice. For those new to the UFC world, every time an athlete declines a match or suffers from an injury that prevents them from competing, UFC automatically extends their existing contract. But it seems that the extension of the contract or even the removal from the ranking was what bothered Jedrzejczyk. Instead, it seemed as if she was slightly bothered by the choice of opponents and the pay rate for the next fight. It appears that Jedrzejczyk doesn't want just any opponent, she's just looking for big fights. She specifically mentioned Namajunas and Zhang Weili as contenders as she'd like to face off against. As mentioned earlier, Jedrzejczyk didn't reveal who her opponent was, but there are some speculations. A while back, Dana White, UFC president, hinted that Jedrzejczyk's comeback match might be against Marina Rodriguez, who ranked 4th on the strawweight chart. A fight between the two would have been quite interesting. However, these are just speculations and we really don't have any official statements. Jedrzejczyk has enjoyed quite some popularity even without her UFC ranking. Perhaps Jedrzejczyk has realized her value to UFC and has become bolder when talking about the money being earned during her fights. She clearly stated that she deserves a bigger piece of the cake. The UFC champion also mentioned that she's been offered big money for fights outside of the UFC. However, she claimed that she wasn't interested, and at the end of the day, she's a UFC soldier. Jedrzejczyk seemed to be suggesting a pay-per-view deal. Speaking of, will she appear on a pay-per-view? For the UFC newbies, pay-per-view points are only offered to champions, although there have been quite a few fighters in the past who have negotiated the pay-per-view deal. An example is the former two-division champion, Conor McGregor. Despite what Jedrzejczyk has stated, White has claimed that the athlete will have to fight against another opponent before she can face the gold division opponents again. So for those of you worried about Jedrzejczyk not returning to the fighting ring, you can rest assured the 34-year-old does want to fight in the UFC. She just has a few things that she wants to take care of before she heads into the ring again. Word on the street is that Jedrzejczyk might make her return in March 2022. We don't know about you, but we're eager to see her back in action again. Given Jedrzejczyk's track record, we imagine it won't take her too long to climb back up to the UFC rankings to claim her spot. Dana White undermines Kayla Harrison. It seems that the UFC president has yet again undermined the talent of two-time PFL champion Kayla Harrison. During an interview, White not so subtly stated that he didn't think the Olympic gold medalist has proven her status as a champion. He claimed that Harrison hadn't competed with any worthy challenging opponents so far. According to White, she hasn't fought anybody. He went on to say that if Harrison were to have a face-off with Amanda Nunes, then Harrison might be the first death in MMA. The UFC president insisted that he had no personal fringe against the champion, yet this isn't the first time he's undermined her performance. Harrison has been a fast-rising star in the MMA world, ranking 10th on the MMA Fighting Global's ranking. She entered the industry as a free agent, beating 4 components straight in her second PFL championship. Perhaps Harrison is one of the biggest free agents in MMA. If things keep going the way they are, it won't be long before Harrison can face off pound-for-pound champions like Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. Cyborg is the Bellator featherweight champion, while Nunes owns the bantamweight and featherweight titles in UFC. In multiple instances, White has been asked if he would be signing with Harris, while he's indicated that he's ready to sign. We're not entirely certain if he genuinely means it or it's just all rhetoric. Previously, White did advise Harrison to stick to PFL, where the opponents are less competitive and the pay is bigger. However, Harrison made it clear that she would rather focus on the fight and let her management team worry about finding the best deals. Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. Is it happening? In other UFC news, it seems as if Dana White is all for making Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz become a reality. Chimaev made quite a few headlines during UFC 267, where he literally carried Li Jingliang around the octagon before slamming him into the ground. Later, when speaking to the media, Chimaev mentioned Diaz as one of the people he would like to compete against. Chimaev first started getting attention when he won 2 fights in the 10-day Fight Island in 2021. He had a few other fights that caught quite a lot of attention. However, the momentum was broken with the outbreak of the pandemic and the athlete caught COVID-19. The situation was pretty bad and had left many wondering if the athlete would ever fight again. His latest victory seems to have answered the question everyone was wondering about. White confessed to seeing quite a lot of potential in Chimaev. He say that Chimaev's performance was unreal, that he's gotten more wins than the number of times he's actually been in the octagon. White also revealed that the UFC went live on Instagram to film Chimaev's walkout, and that the live was one of the biggest ones UFC had done to date. When questioned about whether Chimaev versus Nate Diaz fight could become a reality, White said that it could become 100% real. He stated that the UFC would talk to Diaz about the matter to arrange for the match between the two. Mike Perry to leave UFC after 5 years. It seems as if Mike Perry wasn't as loyal to UFC as Jedrzejczyk. When offered big money, he wasn't shy to switch lanes. After in the UFC for 5 years, the 30-year-old slugger moved on to bare-knuckle boxing with BKFC. When talking to the media about his departure, Perry revealed that he had turned down a fight with interim lightweight challenger Kevin Lee, and that he probably missed out on an opportunity that won't come knocking again. Perry stated that he had no ill intentions towards his previous promoter and just wanted to try out this new opportunity. Dana White also revealed that Perry's contract with the UFC had expired and that the athlete was free to do as he wished. There are also whispers going around about a January debut for Perry, who plans on starting his training with the BKFC very soon. Perry also talked about wanting to compete against great opponents for money and said he's quite excited to start with the new sport. He also doesn't seem to be too worried about moving on from UFC. Rather, he seems quite keen on increasing his bank balance. Dana White, Halloween costume. It seems that the Octagon isn't the only arena where Dana White has his fights. Twitter, it seems, is also a great place for fights and feuds. In a recent post on Twitter, Paul posted a picture of himself dressed up as Dana White, which seems very much like a continuation of his feud with the UFC president. The two have been going back and forth on the Bluebird app for the past few months, with Paul goading White over fighter pay amongst others, while White asked Paul to fight with people his own age. The picture Paul posted on Twitter had him dressed as White with a bald cap, and the caption read, "Happy Halloween from Dana White and his hookers." As of now, White hasn't responded to the post. It seems that the past month has been quite busy in the UFC, as we saw, from athletes on hiatus to some athletes leaving, and not to mention the fights moving from the Octagon to the internet. When one is a UFC fan, it's unlikely that you'll be left bored without much entertainment. Plus, with things how are proceeding with various athletes, it seems that there's much coming up ahead for fans to look forward to. What are your thoughts on the latest happenings in the UFC? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, champs. We'll catch you on the next one.